Nobody murdered Todd. He really did die from cardiac arrhythmia, not arsenic. So after more than 2.5 years locked up for something she did not do, Cynthia Sommer was exonerated. And Cynthia Sommer joins me now live. Gosh, it is good to see you again. I cannot believe that it's been 15 years since we last were face-to-face after all of this. You look fabulous. How have you been? How has your life been, Cindy?
Good, just busy. I've been remarried and my children are grown, which is crazy. Christian, the youngest, is 22. So a lot of time has passed since I think I've seen you last.
Yeah, I mean, grown kids, right? I had babies, and now I've got an 18-year-old as well. And you do look fabulous, and I'm so glad that we can see each other instead of a jailhouse interview.
Thanks.
You know, our audience might not know this, but you had 4 kids, and they got farmed out across the country to be cared for while you were imprisoned, awaiting trial, and then you remained, you know, behind bars while you fought the conviction. And so you had a lot of time away from those kids. They had a lot of time away from their mom, and they didn't see their dad either. Were you able to, as much as anyone could, were you able to repair the loss of those years?
Yeah, it took a long time, and it took a lot of work and struggles, and eventually they all came back to live with me after, and we've just grown closer as a family because of all that, and being apart for so long.
You know, one thing I didn't realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cynthia, but Tatiana Remley, who you probably saw in the setup, has some extraordinary sexy photos and lived a very sexy lifestyle with Mark, I should say. She is incarcerated currently in the same facility where you were. Is that true?
That's true. I saw that and was astonished that this case is a lot, that she's where she's at. I know exactly where she's at and what she's going through.
So let's talk a little bit about that. I would propose, having seen some of the early, and again, not courtroom, but early evidence in her case, that it's entirely different from yours. Things don't look good in her case. But one thing that's very visible is her sexy lifestyle, her sexy looks. And I would love to hear from you your thoughts on how that's going to play into the jurisprudence, what's supposed to be a fair process when she actually goes to trial. What do you think?
I don't know how it will play out for her. I didn't know how it was going to play out for me. And it's definitely something that I think weighed very heavily on my jury. I think they just overlooked anything that had to do with science and any experts that testified, anything that we had to say. They just really didn't take any of that into account and listen to what the prosecution said about my behavior and my quote-unquote motives for something that didn't even happen, that they had made up. So they took my behavior and fit it into their box to make a case. And
did you ever get the feeling, Cynthia, when you looked across the courtroom at the jury? I'm sorry about we have a delay, so there's some crosstalk, but did you ever get a feeling when you looked across the courtroom at the jury that there was just a whole lot of disdain? I think there were 7 women and 5 men on your panel. Did you get a feeling from them during the case?
I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the jury. I don't think I looked at them a whole lot. But I remember anything that was said about me was derogatory. If it could be said, it was said. You know, they opened up that closet and just pulled out every skeleton that I ever had and just aired it out for anyone to hear. And so that I think weighed heavily and painted a picture of me that maybe I could have had that in my capabilities to do something like that, instead of looking at the fact that, the arsenic levels was impossible, that there was breaks in the chain of custody, that there were experts that said that there was no possible way that anyone could have that type of arsenic in their body and survive an hour.
And yet,
so I think that they just threw out all of that.
Yeah,
right.
I want to ask you just one other question before I let you go, and that is, you were not allowed, hair dye to make your hair look the same as it was when you went in. You weren't given makeup and fancy clothes to look like a woman who you would normally have looked like. Instead, when you were on the stand, you looked like an inmate. Do you think that also played into their decision on how they judged you?
Oh, I think 100%. I mean, the difference between a man and a woman in viewing themselves in a courtroom, or a jury viewing them in a courtroom, is totally different. You could cut a man's hair and put him in a suit and tie, and he looks like he just walked, in the courtroom from home. And a woman, you can only do so much because you're not allowed some of those luxuries. I had to get a court order to wear normal clothes, and that was it. That's all I had. So I didn't have a hairbrush. I didn't have any makeup. I didn't have a blow dryer, a curling iron. I didn't have, like you said, hair dry. I had a black pocket comb, and that's pretty much all you have to get ready for making yourself presentable to how you would normally be to a jury. And so there's no way for them to not look at you as an inmate. And I think that the difference between genders is huge in that regard.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.